Welcome to the Elite FTS Sports Performance Podcast.
Always a learning process for me on how to make the program better.
I'd have to say my number one piece of advice is make sure you want to be in this profession. Don't just volunteer 2 hours here or there. You got to see what the grind is like when you get in there at 6 a.m. and you're there until 6 p.m.
Because they put their best effort into it every time they walk in the weight room, we get great results.
Elite FTS, educating and outfitting the strongest athletes around the world.
Coach, tell me about you're reunited with Bruce Arians. You're out there in Arizona. So how has the transition been so far? I know you just got out there. How's it been so far?
Well, I went from being in the cold of Buffalo. Actually, the day Bruce called me, he asked me, how you doing? I said, I'm freezing my ass off. How you doing? It's been a welcome transition from the cold of Buffalo to the warmth of Arizona and seeing the sun every day. Bruce and I had talked a long time ago about this opportunity and eventually presented himself. He actually called me on a Thursday night. I was on my way home from work from UB. Called him back, left a message, didn't know if I butt dialed him or not, Mark. And then he texted me back, said, I'll call you later, or I'll call you later. Never heard anything back till the next day. I told my wife, I said, don't get excited. I think he's just calling to ask us about the linebacker that we have at UB, this Mac kid who's going to go in the first, projected to go in the first round. Lo and behold, I'm pulling in after eating lunch, and I get a phone call from Bruce, and that's his first question he asked me, and he told me, he said that I've let the former guy go who had done a great job, and he goes, you're my guy, I want to bring you out, and next thing I know, I'm on a plane to Arizona.
That's awesome. So now that you're out there, what's the first thing on your agenda to try to get done now that you're there?
Well, first thing is of many things is, myself, Peter Losey is my assistant out here, and I'm bringing in Roger Kingdom, two-time Olympic gold medalist and world record holder, is just to get the lay of the land. The CBA has changed a lot of things and now dictates more what we can do with the athletes. So right now I'm putting together their first 4-week block of training so we can get out, which is just a very, very general block of training. It's more a preparatory phase. It's designed to develop, reestablish, and increase their work capacity again. It's to reintroduce themselves to the fundamentals of strength development and dynamic functional flexibility. It's to start eliminating structural weaknesses that have developed over the course of the season. It's to institute our prehab and rehab. It's to provide a functional background for which to begin hypertrophy and strength developments and training. It's going to be obviously very low intensities, which will help provide a means of active restoration through the low intensity in the blood circulatory response. And it's actually to help design to, start eliminating their unwanted body fat. So we've put together a program that has been used multiple times before by myself, Tom Izinski, Mark Uligama at the 49ers. It's just really a form of traditional circuit training that we call mixed circuit training. It combines developments. We'll employ traditional strength training methods, dynamic flexibility, cardiovascular training with active rest intervals. Now, that being said, we've also put together tempo work, which gives them the option whether they could do their tempo training on a bike, treadmill, elliptical, or in the pool. Right now, we don't want to load them until they really get here, or we can start watching them perform on the field and in the weight room. So it's a very basic program. It's a 4-week block. It'll move us into a 2-week transitional block before they're not required, but they're voluntarily here April 21st for the next 8 weeks.
In that 8-week session, you're going to have, what percentage of the team will you have in that 8-week prep trip?
Probably the majority of the team will be here. Again, that's time period where there's going to be OTAs, on the field activities. Mm-hmm. There's going to be, quarterback schools and coaching things. So we really have to be very smart on what we do and how we approach our training for the athletes at that time. The initial 2-week transitional block from our general prep block, or what we refer to as anatomical adaptation, which is early off season for us. That 2-week block is we're going to start to introduce some acceleration work. The first week will be a low CNS day, followed by Wednesday a high, and Friday a low. Then the following week will be a high on Monday, low on Wednesday, high on Friday, which will start to introduce some acceleration work to these, again, specific volumes based on position. Obviously, you can't ask a big guy to do the volume of acceleration work. You can a little guy. So, and then we're going to plan out that we're going to switch our 4-day-week program where our big guys are going to do high CNS on Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, low CNS. But our skill guys, because of their outputs and because of the time off on Saturday, Sunday, because their outputs are so high, we're going to move to more low CNS day on Monday, Thursday, high on Tuesday and Friday. So Monday will be more of a circulatory response to get those motor units and get them ready to do their speed work on Tuesday and Fridays. Again, our big guys are more strength, speed dominant. They're going to do a lot of overcoming stuff, so we feel comfortable in just leaving them on a high CNS day on Monday, Thursday, low on Tuesday, Friday. So that's how we're going to...
Big factor in how you manipulate their volume as well?
Oh, absolutely, because our lactic work is going to be done on the field once we start OTAs. You know, the volume of work they do in running patterns and just, you know, the DBs and the grounds they cover, the acceleration rate. We're going to start to look at all of that through a system we're going to bring in, which Tommy has in Jacksonville, called the Catapult system, where we're going to, you know, monitor their heart rates, their acceleration rate, how long they prolong the acceleration rate, their volume of yardage covered in alactic work. And we're going to look at all of that when we look at programming for our athletes as they come into the weight room to lift. But, you know, obviously they're all alactic capacity work is done on the field, so the only thing we're going to do on the off days are a very reduced volume of tempo work, again, for a circulatory response to promote recovery and restoration and blood flow, keep those motor units heated.
Coach, you're in a situation where, you know, as far as just being with the reputation you have, you know a lot of the former players, a lot of coaches in the league. What's that basically that for you to get acclimated to your players and get to know your players, not only from a just basic trust standpoint, but also from an assessment standpoint as far as prior injuries and whatnot. What does that, you know, for each player, what's your assessment look like?
Well, first of all, you know, it's great coming to Arizona because I've worked with half this staff.
Gotcha.
You know, I've worked with Bruce Arians when we were with Cleveland together. Of course, B.A. Coors. Steve Hyde was a tight end in Cleveland. He's now a tight end coach here, and I coached Steve when I've worked with Coach Amos and Coach Goodwin were at the Steelers when I was at Pitt. So I've seen and been around a lot of these guys. I've worked with Todd Bowles, our defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, and always maintained a close relationship with Todd. So it's easy because I can come in, and I've already worked with half this staff. I've already met with Tom, our trainer. Had a great meeting with him. He gave me our 2013 medical season ending summary where I have started to go over. Obviously, having Peter Losi here has helped the transition as far as, you know, if I've got questions about athletes, about, you know, work habits, about, you know, the things they've done in the past. Every strength coach has their own system and their own demands. So I'm going to put it where I can see everything a lot easier, make it easier on the players. So we've got that happening next week. Next week, this week I'm meeting with the people from Catapult. Following week, I've already been in contact. So obviously you can't program the same, and those older guys can't handle the volume of work. Our long snapper, Mike Leach, has been in the league for almost 10 years. I was working with him yesterday just on, you know, his hips are very bad, and he's not going to be able to handle the volume of work that these younger guys can. So you have to be very cognizant of that.
Coach, your background in rehabilitation and your understanding of that, how has that helped with the transition? It seems like you always have a great good relationship with the athletic trainers and physical therapists, and it really benefits the athletes. How important is that for strength coaches to have that kind of background with the rehabilitation aspect?
To me, I think it's very important because it's you know, your goal is, yes, to improve their performance and enhance upon those physical capabilities to see the field. You know, James Smith and I have always said, by the time you've achieved the process of sports mastery, which is what these guys have done, general strength really no longer becomes important. They're already strong. So how can I help them improve upon their abilities on the field, prolong their career? And that's by, 1, increasing work capacity, 2, improving their fitness level, 3, instituting prehab and rehab work, 4, most importantly, is helping them recover more from these very intense bouts of activity. The season is max effort itself, so why would you bring them in the weight room and maximally load them? That's just pure stupidity, in my opinion. And a lot of college coaches have done that. I just left a college where during the season you got guys trying to squat 500 pounds. Are you kidding me? The sport itself is maximal effort. Why do you need to load them like that during the season? I've always had a great working relationship with the physicians and the trainers. I truly believe if you don't, then the only people that suffer are the athletes that you're responsible for. So there always has to be that open line of communication between you, the team docs, and the strength to the athlete.
Yes.
And costs for us are orthopedic considerations and trainability.
So it seems like, you know, you are way as good as a job as you've done at the collegiate level, it just seems like being in the NFL is home for you, and this is kind of where you feel that your strengths and your attributes are best used. Am I wrong in saying that?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I've done it on the NFL level. This is my second time. I've done it with, on the highest level of collegiate, and I've done it with high school kids. I've been on the high level with the Cleveland Browns, and then dropped down to where, I'm working at the University of Buffalo. And at the time under Turner Gill, there was 119 teams in Division I, and we were 119. So I don't know how much stand that we're not here for long. You do the best that you can do. Every day you try to do better and gain knowledge to help prepare your athletes. But at the end of the day, if the bottom line is, can I get better? How can I get better? How can I better prepare my athletes for the vigors of the sport involved? But as far as paying my dues, I've paid my dues to be here.
Oh, absolutely.
I was unemployed for 3 years and nobody talked to you. I've always told you, coaching is like having a girlfriend. You got a girlfriend, everybody else wants you. The minute your girlfriend dumps you, you stand around like, well, where's everybody else?
Right.
So when I was at Pitt my last tour, I was offered the Iowa State job, talked with Mike McCarthy and the Green Bay Packers, turned down a Redskin job, then all of a sudden you're unemployed, and everybody looks at you like, no, you got leprosy, nobody wants you.
It's amazing.
I'm just thankful to have a job. I've talked to Pete yesterday. I said, you just got to not work your ass off anymore, because it's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Yes, sir.
And I was very fortunate to get to know B.A. very well when we were in Cleveland. B.A. knows what type of strength coach I am. He knows I'm going to work my ass off for him. I'm going to work my ass off for the organization. I'm honored to be here. And as long as I'm here...
Being your second time in the NFL, I know it's early in your stint there at Arizona.
So if you really think about it, Mark, the longest period of time you get to train these athletes is during the most intense competitive period of their career, which is during the season, which is all maximum effort work. So, you can't maximally load them. It's all sub-maximal work. The only thing you're trying to do right now in this off-season is institute all your prehab and rehab stuff, prepare them for the vigors of the sport, and hopefully when they leave you and they go home for that time frame before they go to camp, they continue to do the program that you send home with them and ask them to do. But, training NFL athletes is a lot harder, in my opinion, than training collegiate athletes. Doesn't mean everybody's going to squat here. That's why I just bought 2 belt squats. Doesn't mean everybody's going to bench press here. There's a number of different tools you can use. My quarterbacks never bench press. I think that's a waste of time, and you'll have people want to argue with me about that. But why do they need to bench press? There's no need. We'll do dumbbell bench. We'll do thousands of different variations of that, and push-ups, and a lot of shoulder work, a lot of med ball work, a lot of movement work. But why does a quarterback really need a heavy bench press? I've never understood that. And again, we're looking at positions. We're looking at the bioanalytical demands of the sport. And we're looking at the individual and how long they've been in the NFL and how long they've had a sustained career and the injuries they've had during their career. There's a lot of factors you got to look at, Mark.
Yes, sir.
So I'm taking my time. Like I said, I'm finishing up our first 4-week program, which I'm only going to do 4 weeks at a time. Then I'll send out a 2-week transitional program before they come here April 21st. It's every day, Pete and I look at different things and how we can do things better, how we can improve the organization from what we do to help us win football games.
Coach, you talk about Pete on your staff, and what does it do for the program, bringing in someone like Roger Kingdom as far as, and how do you really split up your staff as far as responsibilities?
Well, obviously, Roger has a great deal of knowledge. You don't achieve world class and set a world record in your chosen activity without being intelligent and being very blessed in your athletic abilities and obviously training to achieve those goals. I use Roger in Cleveland. Roger's a wealth of knowledge as far as looking at people. Charlie Francis always told me a long time ago, trust what you see. So it's ability to, and he told me the other day, he said, there's too many snake oil salesmen out there. And he's right.
Yes, sir.
There are too many out there. Here's in the world, they all may train different, but they all have common denominators. What are those common denominators? Same as the top speed coaches in the world. They all may do things a little different, but they all have common denominators. What are the common denominators? And I have to listen to one more person tell me that the only way to get fast is improve stride length and stride frequency. I may choke somebody. They are byproducts or consequences of running fast. They're not the reason people run fast. You want to run fast, apply more mass-specific force into the grind and proper biomechanical positions in ever-decreasing increments of time, and understanding the faster you go, the less time you're going to spend on the grind, so there's less time to apply those forces. James Smith just wrote a great book on applied sprint training that I got and I've read. Say the correlation implies causation. So people need to change their thought process on that little one known fact right there.
Coach, that's great stuff. Hey, let's finish up with this, Coach. What are your expectations for you as a coach and for the Arizona Cardinals this year coming up?
You're asking me to make a prediction. Last time I made a prediction, Mark, we got beat 48-14 by Penn State my second year at Pitt. I keep my mouth shut.
No prediction.
I don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
All I can tell you is this: is myself, Pete, and Roger are going to work every day. Give it everything we can to put these guys in a position to be successful and for this organization to win football games and to be successful. I love B.A. You know, there isn't one thing I wouldn't do for the guy. He's always been a good friend, but, you know, we're going to give it everything we got every day. We're going to meet every day and analyze what has been done on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. We're only writing programs for 1 week at a time to see how our athletes respond to the stimuli that we provide for them based on that week. And we're going to coach our asses off.
Well, Coach, I want to tell you, you've been a mentor to so many. You've been such a positive influence for all of us coaches that are in the business. And like I said, I've written about it before. Growing up in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, you're one of the reasons why I got into coaching, and I can probably say that there's a lot of people that would agree with me. And you've been a coach that it's been about your athletes, it's been about your players, it's never been about you. And I think that's a great lesson for all the coaches out there that want to kind of make a name for themselves at the expense of their athletes. So definitely appreciate your leadership in our field.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I'm always going to maintain that humble attitude. I am very thankful to be where I am, very blessed to be where I am, very thankful to have been able to work with the people I've worked with. But, you know, I'm a guy that's always going to fly under the radar, Mark. I don't want nobody to know who I am. I just want my teams to be successful, my athletes to be well prepared, and my athletes to stay free from injury. So whatever we can do to do that, we're going to do it from a recovery standpoint, from a programming standpoint, from a bioenergetic demand standpoint, from the development of the multiple biomotor abilities that these guys need to participate in their sport, understanding that for these guys to get better at their sport at this level, they got to spend more time in their sport. So now our training becomes very general in nature, not very fancy.
Makes sense. Well, hey, Coach, on behalf of Dave and myself and Elite FTS, again, we wish you the best of luck this year, and we'll be pulling for you.
I appreciate that, Mark. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
That's it for this episode of the Elite FTS Sports Performance Podcast. Visit us online at EliteFTS.com. Follow us on Twitter at EliteFTS. And like us on Facebook at /EliteFTS. Elite FTS. Live, learn, pass on.